All right, aloha and good morning. My name is Chasen Ishii, Chairperson for the Authority. I'd like to call to order the November 1st, 2023 public hearing of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. And the time is now 9 o'clock.
Thank you, Chair. The Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's public hearing both virtually on Zoom and in person. The Zoom link details were included in the public hearing notice. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom or at the physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communications staff is hosting the Zoom portion of this hearing. Once this public hearing begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. It is important that all individuals clearly state their name each time prior to speaking. This is a public, in-person and virtual public hearing. So to prevent any distractions, if you are attending virtually and you're not a board member, staff member, or HCDA's Attorney General, please turn off your video during the meeting. If you are providing verbal testimony, your name will be called accordingly. If you are attending in person, when your name is called, please come to the front of the room. And if you are attending virtually, please turn your video on only while providing your testimony. In either case, please clearly state your name and affiliation and proceed with your testimony. Oral testimony may be limited to 3 minutes at the discretion of the presiding officer and will be accepted only on matters directly related to the public hearing subject. If the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the hearing will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the hearing will be reconvened tomorrow at 9 a.m., the same physical location and virtual Zoom link as today's hearing. Thank you. Chair.
Let the record reflect the following Kaka'ako members are present. Vice Chair Higa.
Present.
Member Apo.
Present.
Member Miranda Johnson.
Present.
Member Anderson.
Present.
Member Hirai.
Present.
Member Evans. Member Evans. Excuse. Member Sakota.
Present.
Individuals of the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted to provide testimony respectively. Will the counsel for the applicant make their appearance at this time?
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Ishii, Vice Chair Higa, members of the authority, Executive Director Nakamoto, and staff, Curtis Tabata and Benjamin Matsubara, appearing on behalf of the applicant, Coral Acquisition LLC.
Morning.
Legal basis and purpose. Today's decision-making hearing on development permit number KAK 22-055 is being held in accordance with Hawaii Revised Statute, Section 206E-5.6 Hawaii Administrative Rules, Chapter 15-219, and the vested Hawaii Administrative Rule, Chapter 15-22. The development permit number is KAK 22-055. The application is Block G Kulia Project, tax map key 12-1-055, parcels 1 to 18, 32, 33, 34, and 35. The project location is 728 Alamona Boulevard, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The project description. The request before us is for a development permit application dated July 25th, 2023, proposing to build a single tower, 294 unit residential mixed-use condominium called The Project. The proposed project consists of a single condominium tower located on an approximately 65-foot high parking podium and ground floor commercial retail space. It is located on a lot bounded by Alamona Boulevard, Cook Street, Hawaii Street, and Coral Street. On the ground level, the project will include approximately 11,660 square feet of open space and approximately 39,592 square feet of recreational space with amenities. A total of approximately 687 parking stalls will be located in the approximately 65-foot high parking podium. Residential and commercial loading areas and public bicycle parking are proposed as part of the project. Modification request. The applicant requested the following modification from the vested Monk area rule. Modification of the height of the parking and mixed-use podium from 45 feet to 65 feet. An additional 12 feet for accessory use structures having a total area less than 15% of the parking and mixed-use podium roof area. And an additional 18 feet for structures that will house elevator machinery on the parking and mixed-use podium roof. The application date is July 25th, 2023. Legal notice. A public hearing notice was published in Honolulu Star Advertisement, Maui News, the Garden Isle, Hawaii Tribune Herald, and West Hawaii Today on Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023. Presentation public hearing. A presentation public hearing for this development permit application was held on September 6th, 2023. And the modification request presentation hearing was held on September 7th, 2023. Chair.
Procedures for the hearing. Let me briefly explain our procedures for today's decision-making hearing. Prior to this hearing, authority members received both the ACDA staff and the applicant's proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision and order. First, ACDA staff will present its recommendations. Then the applicant will be afforded up to 15 minutes to present their closing arguments and present any additional facts not already included in their respective proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision and order. Finally, we will hear testimony from the public before continuing on to decision making. Only members of the authority and the executive director will be permitted to ask questions of the staff, the applicant, or individuals providing testimony. I'll be acting as presiding officer for this hearing. Are there any questions to these procedures? We will now begin our proceedings. ACDA's Director of Planning and Development, Brian Tam, will now present the ACDA staff proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision and order for the Kalihu Project Block G. Brian?
Good morning, Chair Ishii, members of the authority and members of the public. I will summarize the staff's proposed findings of facts, conclusions of law, and decision and order. Since the packets went out, we did make some copy editing changes, but no substantive changes to it. I would like to acknowledge the hard work of our staff planner, Ms. Sandy Cronin, and of course the fantastic Ms. Renee. Spent many hours on this. Okay, turning to our findings of fact. Starting on page 2, numbers 1 through 20, that goes through the procedural history, including the agency letters. Again, I do know that a finding of fact number 4 does have a typo and should read August 2nd, 2023, not 2022. So we made that change. Starting on page 5, number 21, that begins the presentation hearing and modification hearings. Summary of them. Starting on page 10, items number 40 through 90 go through the vestibules and the ward master plan. Starting on page 24, items 91 through 246 describe the project. Starting on page 54, items 247 to 253 discuss climate resiliency items. Starting on page 55, items 254 to 260 discuss cultural and historic preservation. Starting on page 58, items 261 to 263 discuss shadow, wind, and noise studies. Also on page 58, items 264 to 266 discuss traffic impacts. Starting on page 59, items 267 to 268 discuss.
The court reporter asked if you could speak up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Items 267 to 268 discuss infrastructure adequacy. Also on page 59, items 200, starting items 269 to 278 discuss government agency and utility comments. Starting on page 66, item 279 to 295 discuss modifications. Starting on page 71, items 296 to 311 discuss compliance with Hawaii revised statutes, section 206E, which is the district rules and policies. The conclusions of law starts on page 79. Then the decision and order starts on page 82. Items 1 through 4 discuss reserve housing requirements, public facilities dedication, and floor area counting. Page 84, items 5 through 7 discuss protection of historic resources. Item 8 discuss sustainability. Starting on page 85, items 9 through 19 discuss activation of the ground level pedestrian experience along I-1 Boulevard and the corner of Cook Street. Also discusses trees and landscaping, measures to address the elevation changes between the podium and street level, and also lighting, including requirements for full cutoff lighting on the exterior. Starting on page 88, item 20 discusses parking. 21 discusses underground utilities. Items 22 to 27 discusses a protected bike lane along the project frontage, coordination with the city on transit and bike circulation, and the park to park promenade along Cook Street. Starting on page 90, items 28 through 30 discuss pedestrian amenities, paths, and visibility into buildings and planter heights. Starting on page 91, items 31 through 33 discusses electrical vehicle readiness and parking circulation. Item 34 discusses reflectivity. 35 discusses a vegetative green wall to screen the parking structure. Starting on page 92, items 36 to 37 discusses traffic mitigation, the need for demand management plan. Items 38 through 42 discusses noise, odor, wind and relocation assistance, and DOE Department of Education impact fees. Starting on page 93, items 43 through 44 discuss water consumption, as well as a glint and glare study to affect the aircraft flying nearby. Page 93, items 45 discusses compliance with agency comments. Page 94, item 46 discusses infrastructure improvements. Starting on page 95, items 47 to 50 discusses state and city permit requirements related to water quality. Starting on page 96, items 51 through 52 discusses compliance with vested rules and material representations. Starting on page 96, number 53 discusses the requirement to place a level 3 electric charger nearby. Page 97, item 54 discusses a summary of climate change documentation. And finally, starting on page 97, item 55 discusses recordation of the decision and order as a covenant. So that concludes our staff report, pending any subject to your questions.
Board members, are there any questions?
I have a question. Peter Apple. Our question is, in our preliminary work on the archaeological findings, what is the likelihood that EV will be discovered in any of the unearthing parts of the project.
Refer to the applicants. Thank you for that. Score.
Hi, Daniel Simonich from ProsPac. So we completed all the proper studies, the surveys to try to assess. Of course, they can't necessarily know what will be identified underground, but they do, as part of that process, have a management plan in place in case something is discovered.
Does the management plan include speaking with any of the families that in the case of Evie, who would be notified and then included in the discussion? Or what does that, if Evie is discovered, does contacting the families that might be affected occur after the fact?
I have to go back and refer to the monitoring plan. I believe consultation is part of that process. And I think your question is does it happen early? And I think that is the case.
Okay, so they have been in touch with families, yes?
Even in Shifty's approval and acceptance of the archaeological inventory survey and monitoring plan, yes, that
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
consultation with the recognized descendants has already occurred as part of Shifty's approval and acceptance of the reports.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you said. You said my.
Sure, yeah, no worries. Yep.
Anyway, I don't mean to prolong this. The reason I ask is none of the projects that I was involved in the past, it really helped to notify the families prior to the start of construction and to engage them, because you develop a relationship. And I only throw that out because, you know, trouble always starts when you bring the families in really late. And then they come in with a kind of negative attitude, like, oh, now you don't want to talk to us. So I just throw that out there as, you know, something to give some thought to. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Uphold.
Chair,
Yes.
Chair Shi, if I may, and Member Poe, we can we can review also the documentation. We can also get back to you also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Uphold. Members, is there any other questions on the staff's proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, decision and order? If none, then we will proceed to closing arguments. The applicant will now have 15 minutes to make their closing arguments.
Thank you, Chair.
So,
I'll be quick. Curtis Tabata and Benjamin Matsubara for the applicant. The applicant is in support of the staff's proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision in order. We would like to thank the authority for its time and consideration of our project. And a big thank you to the staff for all their hard work, dedication, and wisdom in guiding and assistance in shaping Kulia, as well as for the logistics in planning and conducting the public hearings for our project. Based upon the evidence, filings, and the entire record permit number KAK 22-055, we respectfully request that the authority approve the applicant's development permit application and adopt the staff's proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision in order. Thank you.
thank you. Members, do you have any questions on the applicant's closing arguments? If none, then we'll proceed to public testimony. Prior to the presentation and modification public hearings on September 6th and 7th, 2023, the HCDA received a total of 17 written testimonies from the public regarding this project, including 16 in support of the project and 1 opposed. Following the presentation and modifications, request public hearings and up until the October 31st, 2023 deadline to submit testimony, HCDA received one written testimony in support. We will now take verbal public testimony. Speakers, you'll be called upon to testify in the order in which you have signed up. Public testimony will be limited to 3 minutes each, since each authority member has or will be given a copy of any written testimony that you might have provided. Please refrain from reading your written testimony and instead summarize your comments in the time that you have available. When you are called, please clearly state your name and any organization that you will be representing or affiliation. And if you're attending virtually, please unmute your microphone and turn on your video. The first person,
Chair, I know, Chair, no one signed up, in advance. Maybe you can ask the Zoom participants if they, anyone wants to testify.
so we had no one signed up in advance, but is there any Zoom participants that would like to give public testimony? If there's none, we will go to deliberations. We will now continue with deliberations and decision-making. Members, please indicate yes or no to signify that you're prepared on to deliberate after this presentation modification public hearing held on September 6th and September 7th, 2023. And let the record reflect the following Kaka'ako members are prepared to deliberate on development permit number KAK 22-005 Block G. Vice Chair Higa,
Ready.
Member Apo,
Absolutely, ready.
Member Miranda Johnson,
Ready.
Member Anderson,
Ready.
Member Hirai.
Ready.
Did Member Evans join us? No, excuse, Member Sakota.
Ready.
Okay. After reviewing the record, which includes HCDA staff's recommendations, applicants' evidence and arguments, and having considered public testimony, is there a motion for the authority to adopt the HCDA's staff's findings of fact, conclusion of law, and decision in order for development permit KAK 22-005 for the Block G project? Do I have a
Member
motion?
Higa. Member Higa so moves.
Do I have a second?
Second, Kevin Sokoto.
It has been moved by Vice Chair Higa and second by Member Sakota. Is there any further discussions on this motion? Since there's no further discussion on the motion, I will ask Ryan, if you could please take a roll call vote.
Chair Ishii,
Yes,
Vice Chair Higa,
Yes.
Secretary Poe,
Yes,
Member Miranda Johnson,
Yes.
Member Anderson,
Yes.
Member Harai,
yes,
Member Evans is excused, Member Sakota,
Yes.
and vacant. So the vote is 7 ayes, 0 nays, 1 excuse, and no abstaining.
thank you. Okay, the motion passes. Does the applicant's counsel want to stipulate to the approved findings of fact, conclusions of law, and decision in order, or would you like to reserve your right to file exceptions on or before Wednesday, November 8th, 2023?
The applicant stipulates, Chair.
Okay, on behalf of the HCDA, authority members and its staff, I would like to thank you for your attendance. The public hearing is now closed. and the time is 9:25. Thank you.
We'll take a short break and then convene at 9:45 public hearing.